Welcome to our city, and here's what's going on this week around our city. On Tuesday, September 12th at 4 p.m., Mayor Bowles will attend the dedication ceremony for the renovation of the emergency department. The event will take place at Trinitas Regional Medical Center, which is located at 225 Williamson Street. On Wednesday, September 13th at 4 p.m., Mayor Bowles will attend the grand opening of the Union County Family Justice Center, which is located on 10 Cherry Street. Following that event at 5 p.m., Mayor Bowles will join the Greater Elizabeth Chamber of Commerce at their 19th annual dinner cruise, which will depart from 330 South Front Street. For more information on this event, please contact 908-355-7600. Then on Thursday, September 14th at 6 p.m., Mayor Bowles will join members of the Salvadorian community as well as other Elizabeth residents for a flag raising ceremony. This event will take place at City Hall, which is located at 50 Winfield Scott Plaza. On Saturday, September 16th at 10 a.m., Mayor Bowles will join 2nd Ward Councilman Nelson Gonzalez and members of the community at the 2nd Ward Play Street celebration. This event will be held at Montana Park, which is located at the intersection of South 5th Street and 5th Avenue. This family-friendly celebration is recommended for ages 6 through 14 and will include a morning of games, face painting, and giveaways. For more information, please contact 908-820-4051. And if you need more information concerning these events or any others this week, please contact the Public Information Office at 908-820-4124. We'll be back with this week's segment after these words. Thank you.
Why do we like it here? Let's just say the reasons are diverse. Kean University.
Welcome back to this week's segment, where I'm pleased to be joined by Mr. Bill Schroh, Jr., and we're going to talk about the Liberty Hall Museum. And you're the Director of Museum Operations.
Correct.
How long have you been there?
It'll be 20 years next year.
Wow, so you know your stuff over there.
I do. It's been an incredible place to learn about the history of New Jersey.
And this museum is located where?
It's located at 1003 Morris Avenue on the campus of Kean University, right on the corners of Morris and North.
Now, for some who may not know, and correct me if I'm wrong, but across there's a bank. And
Yes.
prior to the bank being there was a brown house
Yes.
with yellow trimming.
Correct.
Where's that house at now?
That house, when we planned to sell that property that was once part of the museum, we picked up the building and moved it onto the museum proper. There's only 25 acres left of the museum of the original 250 of the Kean family that they owned, which is now all Kean University. So now that sits in mothballs, and hopefully we can restore that building someday.
So you physically picked up a house and moved it across the street.
That is correct.
Incredible. I remember that and I said, how in the world are they going to do that? So in July, Liberty Hall Museum discovered 3 cases of Madeira wine from 1796. The Madeira gave the museum worldwide acclaim. What is the plan for the Madeira, and have you tried it yet?
I have not tried it yet, unfortunately. Mr. Kean has decided not to try any of the Madeira yet, so that's still something I'd love to investigate. Apparently, from the research, we've discovered that Madeira does not go bad,
Right.
no matter how old it is. It's just the way that it's fermented. So it was a pretty incredible find. We had no idea the Madeira was there. The Keans bought it about 100 years ago, and the crates were still sealed. We were doing a renovation project in our wine cellar, and we decided to open every crate in the room. And underneath some other crates were these 3 crates of Madeira, and the date and the labels on them when they were first imported from the island of Madeira from 1796.
And none of the workers went in the back and just cracked one open?
No, because we were part of the work staff. So no, that did not happen.
Liberty Hall has a connection to Alexander Hamilton. How does the museum use this to attract visitors?
Well, our Hamilton connection is amazing just because people don't realize, and I don't like the jokes in the musical because it makes fun of Jersey, but he realized that Hamilton started his life in America in New Jersey. His first 6 months was right here in Elizabethtown, and he stayed with Elias Boudinot down at Boxwood Hall,
Right.
and he stayed with William Livingston at Liberty Hall. So there's a great connection there, and then we've used that to bring in new visitors using the musical. We have a teen Hamilton night where teens come and they know every single song from the musical. We have We have sing-offs, and they have a great time, and they have a lot of fun. We do Alexander Hamilton tours now. We have a tour company in Princeton that brings people just to the Elizabethtown area and the city of Elizabeth to visit all the sites related to Alexander Hamilton. And we also do an Alexander Hamilton tavern night for adults, where we come in and we talk about what they drank in the 18th century. So it's a whole different way to bring in people to the area in Liberty Hall, but using the Alexander Hamilton musical and Alexander Hamilton as the hook.
Right. Now, I know Liberty Hall works closely with Edmo. What new tourism plans are in the work?
Well, our newest tourism plan is working with Royal Caribbean Cruises. Royal Caribbean Cruises is now using Bayonne as their headquarters. And one of the things they do excursions, because a lot of visitors that come in for cruises either come in the day before or the day after, or I'm sorry, they stay an extra day.
Right.
So they needed something to do. So apparently they've been using a lot of excursions into New York City, which people have not been happy with. So Edmo got connected to them, and we convinced them to create a tour for the Elizabeth area, visiting all the sites in Elizabeth, visiting downtown Elizabeth, maybe going to Elizabeth Restaurant, going to the mall, and this will start this September.
Now, unfortunately, I haven't never been to Liberty Hall Museum, which I will do after this interview. But I saw a great commercial. So if you could just give us a verbal walkthrough, what's some of the things over there?
Sure. Well, the most amazing thing about Liberty Hall is it was a family home for 240 years. So if you could picture your own house and everything in it, do not throw anything away for 7 generations. That's the trick about Liberty Hall, that it's the history of New Jersey in one building. The building was built before the American Revolution, and then it was lived in until 1995. That's the 20th century.
Right.
So we have this history of the people that lived there, and we talk about every level of history. I'm a firm believer what used to be called, I don't believe in it, dead white men's history. It's not just George Washington.
Right.
It's George Washington, it's Martha Washington, it's their children, it's the servants, it's the slaves, and that's the great thing about Liberty Hall. We have that history, and we can talk about all of these very different levels of society in New Jersey and how they all played a part in American history and making this country what it is.
Now, it's ironic you should say saving stuff forever, because I have an 8-track player I'm saving. And my family's on my case, like, throw that thing away. What are you going to do with it? You can't play it, but I think I'm going to have a museum one day. So
you never
I need
know.
you to talk for them for me. Liberty Hall hosts a great deal of school children during the school season. Are there any new programs in the works?
We do. We have 5 new programs that we're launching. We originally concentrated, when the museum first opened, on the 4th and 5th grade and the 7th and 8th grade levels, because that's when they study American history and New Jersey history particularly. But we've realized that schools are looking for more. So we've created programming all the way from pre-K all the way through high school. And then the new program that we're going to be launching this fall is working with the Elizabeth school system. We've created a program called the History of Elizabethtown from 1664 until 1826, because that's the 50th anniversary of American independence. And it's going to be a 3-site visit where they're going to visit Boxwood Hall, they're going to visit the Snyder Academy and the First Presbyterian Church, and they're going to visit Liberty Hall and kind of get a whole idea of the beginnings of Elizabethtown and the history of Elizabeth.
Now, in the commercial, I thought I saw a vintage fire truck. Is that in there?
That is correct. We do have a firehouse museum. One of the Kane family members, his name was Stuart Kane, his hobby was collecting fire memorabilia and fire trucks. And when he passed away, he left his collection to the Liberty Hall Museum. And what we decided just to really concentrate on the local stuff. So our whole museum is primarily about the Township of Union and the City of Elizabeth. And the 3 trucks in there, 2 of them highlight this history.
And you know what year they're from, or?
Yes, the City of Elizabeth truck is from 1928. It's an American Seagrave, and the truck from Union is an American LaFrance from 1927. Both companies still exist, and both companies still make firefighting equipment for our firefighters today.
Wow. Now, Liberty Hall hosts all types of family activities throughout the year. Could you tell me what you have planned for this fall?
Sure. We have a brand new event. We're always trying to figure out how to use the property differently, not just for history. This particular event, we're having the first ever Liberty Hall Dance Festival. We were approached by a local dance troupe right here in Union called the Budgie Ballet, and they have branched out themselves and got 15 different dance companies. And we're going to have an event on September 16th, rain date September 17th, because it's all outside. Right. And all these 15 different dance companies have created contemporary dances related somehow to history of New Jersey, history of Liberty Hall, history of the area. So it's going to be a family event. And there also is activities for participation of people as well.
And exactly where is this taking place?
Right on Liberty Hall, in the buildings and outside all over the grounds.
Okay. As a historic house museum, how do you keep Liberty Hall relevant in the technology drive world of today?
Well, we all know everyone's on their smartphones, everyone on their iPads, and we're an old house. And generally our tour is, let's take a walk through an old house.
Right.
But kids today, and even adults today, and the millennials especially, the phones. So we've been working with the Robert Bush School of Design here at Kane to work with augmented reality. Augmented reality is basically 3D technology using your cell phone.
Right.
And we first started off with a program with one of our exhibits called Toys Through Time, where you took your iPhone to this picture of a toy, and you downloaded an app, pressed the button, and the toy came to life, and you saw a 3D image on your phone. That was our first program. Then we decided to go one step further, and we have a program called Room of Echoes. Now, since Liberty Hall was lived in by generation after generation after generation, the rooms are there,
right,
but they've changed. We used our death inventories of the house that we have, and we've created 3D models of the same room. So using your phone, you can look into our dining room, how it looked in 1770. And then you just click a button, how it looked in 1825.
Wow.
Click a button, how it looked in 1950. The same room, but how it changes, how the room changes, how the furniture changes. It all becomes, and you can stand in the room and you can move around, look at the ceiling, look at the floor, anything that you want. And then the third one we're working with is, we had a very famous wedding take place at Liberty Hall, April 24th, 1774. It's famous because of the groom. The groom was John Jay. John Jay would become the first Chief Justice of the United States. He married one of William Livingston's daughters, Sarah, and we're going to recreate next year a 3D where you can step into the wedding using your iPhone. So it's going to create this whole experience, and you can just be part of the event. So we're continually thinking of different ways and how to...
Now you said iPhone. What if you don't have an iPhone, just have the regular
and any
Android? Okay.
any phone would work. And we also have iPads that we have on site, so you could use an iPad if you were visiting us to try to
So
experience
the old
as well.
building is Wi-Fi accessible now.
Oh yeah, completely Wi-Fi accessible.
So Liberty Hall showcases a part of its collection in a special exhibit every year. What part of the collection is on display currently?
Well, this year is the 100th anniversary of America entering World War I. So 2 of the Kane family members that grew up at Liberty Hall and 3 of their cousins all fought in the American Army in France in the AEF. So we decided that was what we were going to showcase at Liberty Hall this year. So since they lived in the area and they worked and lived in Elizabeth, there's a lot of connection to the city of Elizabeth. And one of my favorite is, we have one of those Uncle Sam Wants You posters. But not just that, it has 55 Broad Street. That was where the recruiting station was.
Wow. So if someone wanted to donate to the museum, could they do so?
We have a strict policy about donations. We only accept things that relate to the Livingston or the Kane families or any of the Kane family businesses, which could be connected to the city of Elizabeth, because at one point they owned Elizabethtown Gas, Elizabethtown Water, and the National State Bank in Elizabeth, which building still stands today. Now it's the Wells Fargo. I love walking by it though, because it's still etched originally inside.
Now, we talked about the wedding earlier. How do you research that? Who does the research, and how do you put it all together?
Well, we work with the historians at Kane University and the history department and their grad students and their honor students, plus the museum staff. We use letters, diaries, and then when we can't, we have to piecemeal together. We'll look at other 18th century weddings that have more information, and it won't be perfect, but it'll be all the best way we can put the whole thing together.
Okay. And what kind of programs and events does the Liberty Hall have during the holiday season?
Well, we start off with our Halloween events. We have ghost tours of Liberty Hall. Now, I've never seen a ghost at Liberty Hall, but I've heard plenty of enough strange things that go bump in the night to wonder about if there's anything. We figured out there has been about 34 people have died in Liberty Hall over the centuries, from babies that were born, unfortunately, to old people that died in their beds. So there's plenty of activity in that. Then we do a fun, friendly Halloween event. Our pumpkin patch event is always the Saturday before Halloween. I think it's the 29th this year. And then we roll into the Christmas season. We have a lot of holiday Christmas events. We have a gingerbread house making workshop. We have breakfast with Santa. We have candlelight tours.
Holiday afternoon tea?
We holiday afternoon teas. So the whole house is decorated, and we try to pick a theme. Like, since I mentioned earlier, we do a World War I exhibit. So Christmas this year is going to be Christmas during the wars. So from the American Revolution to the War of 1812 to the Civil War to World War I and then World War II, so people can kind of walk through what they experience, what we were experiencing if you lived in that time.
Okay. Hold that thought. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay. We'll be back with the second half of our city after these words. Thank you.
We're an American original. Dependable, historic, nuanced, with all the comforts of home, even when you're just visiting. So we're celebrating for all that we've left untouched and all that we've changed. A place where the past meets the future. So consider this your invitation.
We've been celebrating here in Elizabeth for 350 years, and we're just getting started.
Welcome back to our city, and today we're talking about Liberty Hall and some of the great things happening over there. As we went to break, I thought about something. You were talking about the virtual concept. How did that come about? I mean,
that came about from one of the professors at Kean University, Ed Johnston, who works at the design school. He came to us and said, I'm working with some students, we're looking for a project. We know that you are working on a toy exhibit. We have an idea to do this augmented reality. And it was just such an amazing experience to see. Like, one of them was, we have a toy called Mr. Machine. Mr. Machine was the first toy, it came out in 1960, that kids could take apart and put back together again by themselves, and it was 100% plastic, and it was see-through. And so with the augmented reality, when you click on the Mr. Machine poster, on your phone pops up the original commercial from television of Mr. Machine. So we loved it so much. I said, what else can we do? And that led into this Room of Echoes project, which has led into this wedding that we're going to do, and hopefully more projects as well.
And this concept, is that only at Kean, or is that nationwide?
Well, we were one of the first museums in New Jersey to do augmented reality. And I know there's definitely a national issue, but for New Jersey, we were one of the first ones. We were right on the cusp.
And you mentioned toys. Are there other toys in there besides that one? Or?
Well, right now, because I said earlier, we do an exhibit, and last exhibit was just toys. We had over 400 toys on display. Now they're back in storage, because now we're doing World War I. But there is one room that's still left that has a bunch of the toys still on display.
So it's possible if you have something related to children, you have all the toys on display?
Correct.
What's some of the key toys, if you remember any of them?
Well, as I mentioned, Mr. Machine. We had a set of Lone Ranger pistols from the 1930s. We have an amazing dollhouse that was handmade in 1878, but it's a huge dollhouse. All handcrafted furnishings, and I find the most fascinating thing about it is that the servants' dolls, because there's servants' dolls, of course, as well as adult dolls, because this is an upper-class family, the servants' dolls are made smaller than the family dolls.
Of course.
I thought that was very, very interesting. We have Lionel trains. Lionel trains, again, I try, if I can, to bring the collection back to New Jersey. And Lionel trains were made in Hillside for the first almost 50 years of their existence, so right around the corner. These trains could have easily been made locally.
Is it difficult to store these things safely and properly?
Well, we were lucky enough. One of our buildings is called the Ice House, and originally was an ice house before refrigeration. There was a man-made reservoir called Orsino Lake that used to be right by North Avenue, and they used to cut up blocks of ice in the winter and fill this building. The building's enormous. It's 2 stories. We were able enough to get a grant money where we were able to build the inside of that, because the building is 2 feet thick solid stone, so it automatically is naturally cool. And we put an envelope inside and made it a state-of-the-art HVAC archive center. So we have a great storage facility on campus that we can store these things properly. And we have a young lady on staff, Rachel Goldberg, and that's her job. She's the collections manager, so she takes care of all these artifacts and make sure they're properly protected and stored.
And prior to the break, we talked about the different events you have during the holiday and everything. If someone wanted to go, how do they register to attend one of these events?
Well, they can go on our website, which is www.kean.edu/Liberty Hall, or they can call the museum at 908-527-0400 and make a reservation that way.
Now, over there on the campus, you have a tree program with historical significance. What type of trees do you have in the grounds?
Well, we have trees we have the standards, chestnuts and elms and oaks. We have some coffee trees from Kentucky that people would import. But we started this tree program, it actually was due to Irene and Sandy. We lost 20 trees on the property. Wow. I'm talking enormous monster trees. And we realized there's all these holes and gaps in the property that probably had these trees for 100 years or so. Right. So we decided to create this tree program where people can donate a tree in honor of somebody, of a death, of an anniversary, of a birthday, and so we can start to reforest the property. And that's what the program's all about.
Okay. And are tours available, and how do they entail?
Well, the museum is opened April through December, 6 days a week. The only day we're closed is Sunday. Tours are every hour on the hour, and you can just walk in and take a tour, unless you have a group of 10 or larger. Groups of 10 or larger need to make a reservation ahead of time.
Okay. And what are the most common questions you receive during these tours?
The number one question is, did Tom Kane live here? If you're a New Jerseyite, Tom Kane was governor back in the 80s, and his name is Kane.
Right.
And people ask that all the time. This was Tom Kane's uncle and aunt's house when he was growing up.
Right.
He grew up in Livingston, New Jersey. So his parents had a house there, and then he would visit his aunt and uncle, John and Mary Alice, at Liberty Hall. But it's a question that we get all the time. Another one we always get is, are all these things real? They think it's like we're like on a set, and we have to explain, no, all these things are real. Some of them are 100 years old, some of them are 300 years old. The other question that we get all the time is they want to know the gossip. They want to know the juicy tidbits behind all the stories, behind all the people.
So, name 3 items from 300 years ago, if you can think of something real quick.
Sure. One of them I find the most fascinating, because we have 3 of these, are clocks. We have tall clocks, or grandfather clocks, they're called today, but they're made in Elizabethtown by a gentleman named Aaron Lane, who today is one of the most famous clockmakers in the world. 3 that we have in the collection made right here in Elizabethtown.
Do they still work?
They 2 work very well. 1 gives me a lot of trouble.
And they make noise when they...
They do. They chime every hour on the hour, and the one that gives me the most trouble is the most complicated. It's called the musical clock. It plays 8 different tunes. Now remember, this was made in 1797.
Wow.
And you can change what music and tune is played on the hour. There's 7 different options.
Nowadays they call it a ringtone.
Yes, exactly. But that's very, very complicated. The other thing that I find that most unique are the letters or papers that the family kept, because we have a scrapbook in the collection that a little girl kept. Right. And obviously, you have to look through the book to see what's in here. This scrapbook is from 1826. She took letters from her grandfather and glued them in the book. 1 letter's from George Washington. 1 letter's from Thomas Jefferson. I don't know if she asked them, she just took them, but in her book is these letters, so you never know. You have to look through everything to see what you can find.
She was probably walking around bragging, look at my father's
friend.
Yeah,
look what I have.
So how many visitors do you estimate Liberty Hall receives each year?
We get between 20 and 25,000 visitors a year. That's still not enough. I look at us as we're a national treasure. We're a treasure for New Jersey. We need about 50,000 visitors a year. Really.
You can handle more than 25,000?
Oh yeah. We need to make ourselves a destination. And we're not a destination yet. Like, people don't seek us out, and that's what we need to do. And that's what I'm hoping with these Edmo programs that we're working with and these bigger programs, that people say, I want to go to Elizabeth. Yeah. Here's all I need to do. I want to go visit these places, and Liberty Hall should be one of them.
Well, how do you get the commercial out? Because I saw it and I was like, wow, where's this at? I didn't know it was my old backyard.
Sure.
So how do you get that word out to the public?
Well, we've been doing that slowly but surely, getting the word out. Edmo, which is a great example. The team goes all over the country and visits these conventions, and that's how we get we slowly get the word out. One of the ways we're going to get the word out too is, we mentioned earlier about the Madeira. We're working with a firm to create a whole campaign called History in a Bottle. And it's all about the Liberty Hall, but I mean, Liberty Hall would be a big part of it, but it'd be focusing on the Madeira collection and get that kind of audience. You need to find the different ways to attract different kind of audiences to the museum.
As the people flow in and out of the museum, and we talked about the 25,000, are most of those visitors from this area?
I'd say about 50% are local, and I mean local meaning Union County, Essex County, and the surrounding area. The rest are from all over New Jersey. We get them, and then also from the tri-state area, from New York and that area as well.
I don't know if you know if this is documented or not, but do you ever get any international visitors? And if so,
we do. We do. It's very interesting, and the funniest ones that say the most dangerous ones to talk to, because we talk about the American Revolution.
Right.
It's a different subject when you have British visitors. Because they look at it a little differently than we do with this rah-rah. Here's a house of the rebel governor, William Livingston. To them, he's a war criminal. It's a very different. And it's interesting to see the connections, like Madeira, the connection with the Portuguese community,
Right.
or we'll start talking about the history of bathrooms and chamber pots and things of that nature. And you have people going, oh, and I remember my grandmother having one of those in Ecuador or from South America. So if you can tie it in to where people are from and you talk to them, we also have a very big connection to Polish history. So when we have a lot of Polish, one of the folks who lived at Liberty Hall was named Nimsevich, Count Julian Ursin Nimsevich. He married one of the Canes. He is basically the Jefferson to Polish history.
Right.
And he was eradicated in Polish history by the communists because they didn't want Polish
Right.
history. So there's this new rebirth, and they realize that he's come to America. And we get Polish visitors all the time that want to hear about his experiences.
Right.
His 10 years he lived in America. And a lot of it was right here in Liberty Hall.
Is this museum on one level, or is it more than one level?
The house is 5 stories, from cellar to attic. The original house was built by William Livingston and was 14 rooms, which was a grand house in 1772.
Right.
Most of us were living in a 4-room house. The house has grown over the years, over the Canes, and now it's 50 rooms from cellar to attic. And we actually do, on a full tour, can show 4 stories of the house. Tours take about an hour and a half to 2 hours, and we don't force everybody up the stairs, but
Right.
there are people that want to see the servants' quarters, and they want to see the cellars. And we do have specialty tours that people can see all of that.
And out of those 5 floors, if you had to expand and you had to build a building adjacent to it, would it still be as effective, or maybe not? Because you have a
well-
lot of stuff in storage, so how do you get everything on display?
Well, that's what we do. We do need a proper exhibit hall that we do not have.
Right. So would it be advantageous to build one, or
To
no?
have it? Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And how can viewers follow Liberty Hall on social media?
We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, and we're on Pinterest.
Okay. And if you had to pick one particular item which is your favorite, what would that be? Do you have a favorite?
I'm trying to think. Let's see. I have a lot of favorites.
Tell me 2. Does that
I
help?
mentioned the clocks earlier. One is a set of dueling pistols that we have. That
Which are not loaded.
Well, they're not loaded, but
Okay.
definitely were used. But you
Right.
can look down the barrel and see that they are scuffed. And it's in this beautiful box. So barbaric and so gentlemanly. Open this beautiful box. And
Do they tell who used them and why, or no?
We don't know who used them. We know that we just know that they were purchased, and we know one of the family members was a regular dueler.
And how's the weight on them?
I'm not a gun person, so I don't know weights, but they are pretty heavy.
Yeah.
And a matter of when they're loaded with a gun, with a bullet, and with powder, it would be pretty heavy. I could imagine that.
Okay. And very quickly, once again, the address and the number to the hall, in case somebody
Sure,
wants
it's 1003 Mars Avenue, right here in Union.
Right.
And the phone number is 908-527-0400.
Thank you very much.
you.
I love your energy, and based on that, I'm coming over there.
Fantastic.
And I'm going to ask for Bill when I get there.
Great, I look forward to giving you a tour.
My pleasure. Thank you for joining us for this week's segment of Our City, and if possible, go on over to Liberty Hall Museum, and you learn something great there. Thank you. Have a great week.
We're creating tomorrow's jobs today. Kane University.